So I want to make sure that you are protected from both the real...
Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Today I am here with a very, very special guest. Thank you, Britney, for having me here. I'm so happy to be here. And we're going to talk about how to protect your real estate assets, especially if you do short-term rentals. So this is a big topic, but with Britney you will see it's very, very easy. I am Benedicte, a realtor in Tahoe and real estate coach. I help to create passive income and build long-term wealth by turning their vacation home into short-term rentals. I am with Britney Bladel, who is the owner of the State Farm office in Incline Village on the beautiful Lake Tahoe. Tell me more about yourself and what brought you to insurance.
So thank you so much for allowing me to be here, Benedicte. And I love what you're doing in helping people find, a way to build their wealth and have passive income through short-term rentals. And my whole desire is to protect clients. So when they do acquire the real estate, and especially for short-term rentals, because of some of the increased risk, I want to make sure that people are protected and they have the correct policies. Just to give you a little background on me, I have owned a previous State Farm office in San Diego for 9 years. Okay. I've been with State Farm since 2008. From my experience both in real estate in the past and my years of experience in insurance, being able to protect you properly and make sure that your contract is the right coverage is incredibly important. So with short-term rentals, there is an increased risk for you as the owner. And so insurance companies do have some requirements, and you want to make sure that you have some added protections added on to your traditional homeowners, condo owners, investment, whatever type of insurance policy you have. The first one being simply letting your insurance company know that you are using this property for short-term rentals.
Does it mean that any property can be turned into a short-term rental? I have a vacation home and I want to turn it into short-term rental. Can I do it from an insurance point of view?
Yes. So most of the time, as long as it's being rented for residential purposes, companies can add on what's called a short-term rental endorsement. I can only speak to State Farm's legal contracts, but we do require one night that the client, the insured, does stay in the property at least one night per year. So that is the only requirement in order to get that rental endorsement added on. And then they have unlimited coverage, whether it's VRBO, Airbnb, personal management, they can then rent it out. And the cost of that, I want to set your minds at ease. A lot of times people think, it's going to be, incredibly expensive. Roughly on most of our policies, the cost is only between $120 and $200 per year for that added coverage.
So if you want to have short-term rental, even just waive the cost for your vacation rental for $200 a year, this is a no-brainer. Just take it, because my previous insurance did not want to cover the short-term rental stuff. So make sure that you are insured for that. There is something else that I wanted to highlight, that you asked the owner to stay one night in the property. As a real estate coach and an expert in short-term rental, I highly recommend you to visit any of your properties at least one time a year. So it won't be a problem on the insurance point of view, because you have way more reason than the insurance only to check your property every year. You are the owner. The asset itself is much more important than even the short-term rental. We need to make sure that we visit our properties. So short-term rentals mean more people in your home. They may trip in the stairs. What do you recommend in terms of low suites?
So I highly recommend that you make sure your liability coverage is at the very minimum $500,000 in protection. So when you're asking your insurance provider for a quote or when you're checking your coverages, you want to make sure that your liability coverage is at least at that $500,000. You will be very surprised. A lot of times for our clients to go from $500,000 to $1 million in liability coverage, which is protecting against those lawsuits for whatever reason, trip and fall. There's a variety of claims that we've seen, and we want to make sure that you're protected. To go from $500,000 to $1 million, can sometimes be as low as $25 increase for the entire year. So that is not the coverage that you want to skimp on. You want to make sure that that is as high as you can afford, truly. And we do recommend, in Washoe County specifically, the short-term rental requirement for your permit is $500,000.
Yep.
Obviously, check wherever you are to see what that requirement is. An even better way, big picture, especially if you do own a few properties, you can get what's called an umbrella liability policy. Those can start around $300, $400 per year. They start at $1 million of coverage. They go on up. I know at State Farm we go to 25 million, and you can go higher should you need it. The idea is just to be protecting your personal assets. So whatever your net worth is, whatever value you have in properties, bank accounts, whatever could be attached in a lawsuit, we want to make sure that you're fully protected. So an umbrella policy is a way to cover all of your real estate and your vehicles, boats, really a variety of things under one inexpensive policy.
So to make sure I understand it properly, the umbrella is covering not only the real estate asset, but any kind of asset that you can have in the world to make sure that you are covered and whatever happens in your life, even a car accident.
Correct.
This umbrella will
it covers over all of those policies. Now, obviously, it's only as good as what you're telling your insurance provider. They don't magically know that you own a boat or a different property. So communicating that and making sure you're properly protected is I highly advise that.
And I will stress again that when you talk to your lender, your insurer, or whoever, even your realtor, you need to tell that you want to use your vacation home as a short-term rental because you have a lot of regulations and specificities that is just for this kind of business. It's not only an asset or property that you're owning, it's an asset plus a business. Talking about business, because people can do short-term rental, they have a vacation home in the beautiful Lake Tahoe and well, I'm using it only a couple of weeks per year, so let's short-term rent it to waive all my costs, so somehow I've got a dream vacation home for free, which I love the concept. Nevertheless, some other people will do it as a real business because they want to create those passive income and make sure that they can retire either early or when they retire they have enough money to keep the same lifestyle. Do we need to take a loss of business coverage for that, and how does it work?
So what we can offer in terms of making sure we're protecting that income, especially when you are relying it on as income for your lifestyle, we want to make sure that you have loss of rents coverage or loss of income. It can be labeled as either. For short-term rentals specifically, what the insurance, in the event of a claim, this is only in the event of a claim, not if you were remodeling your home or things like that. But should you have a covered claim, for example, water damage, fire, you can't rent out your property, we will look at the fair market value of the rents that you would generally over a 12-month period. We'll kind of evaluate how much you would have had coming in, and then we will actually make sure we will write a check to cover that loss of income that you were expecting to be able to have due to a covered claim.
I love that.
Yeah. And that is covered in most policies, usually at least 12 months, sometimes up to 24 months. But again, that's just something you'd want to clarify with your insurance provider.
Okay, is it an expensive insurance add-on or is it usually taken?
Yeah, most of the times it's included right in your policy. Okay. Sometimes there could be an added cost to go from the 12 months to 24 months. Okay. But very simple to add on, and most of the times already included.
And tell us, you have a lot of people who are doing short-term rental with State Farm and they insure the property and their business with State Farm. What are the three most common claims that we have because a lot of the viewers will say, okay, do I want to start this kind of business? It sounds a bit scary. I'm going to have problems or whatever. Tell us from the other side of...
in our small town, probably the top three, if we were looking at what most often happens, water loss is a big one. And it's amazing how, whether it's from, in our area, winters, snow, ice dams, there's a lot of reasons. But we also can see simple things, a pipe burst or gosh, their rainstorm damage. You know, you've got maybe wind damage and then rain gets in and then it ruins carpeting or flooring. Those claims can be very, very expensive. And this is where you can protect yourself by having that insurance policy.
Sorry to interrupt you. And this insurance will cover whatever, I mean, this is the same kind of insurance?
Yes.
Just for the real estate asset, it's
yes.
Not specifically for short-term rentals?
No, this is the basic coverage where fire, water damage, theft, vandalism, those kind of things. Really, the main things that are always excluded, if there's general wear and tear or maintenance, that is the property owner's responsibility. Yes. But anytime there's an accidental instance where maybe something fails, something breaks due to rain or wind, natural causes, if that causes damage to your property, that is 9 times out of 10 always covered and should be covered in your insurance policy.
Okay, and so it means that if we have a guest that is breaking something, will it be covered?
Yes, theft is covered, vandalism as well. So if you did have somebody in your property that stole items, stole property, damaged things, that there is coverage in your policy.
Can you tell me, is it specific to State Farm or is it all insurance?
It would be best to check. I have run across a few policies where theft can be excluded or the theft limit can be very, very low. Okay. So that is something that you would want to check your policy for.
If you have a property in Lake Tahoe, I will recommend you to come and to see Britney Bladel at the State Farm office in Incline Village, just behind the Starbucks. It will be much easier for her to give you any specific information than we can do in a short interview. Mm-hmm. So we have people watching us from all over the country. What do you recommend them to check that could be specific for their own area, that it's always better to check with their insurance?
That's a great question. And local providers, I mean, State Farm offices are obviously everywhere, and everyone does have certain requirements. We were talking about wildfire, you know, and Lake Tahoe is a big concern. So we want to make sure when you are looking for insurance, there are a few basic questions that any insurance provider will ask. The age of the property, any upgrades that have been done. This is actually an amazing way to get a discount. If say you've remodeled the electrical, that's something that you can tell your insurance provider and they can possibly provide an extra discount for. So really the age of the property, the location. Another discount that I would love to see if you can save some money on is if you do have a centrally monitored alarm system, so ADT or Simply Safe, if it's being monitored by a third party, that's a pretty large discount that can be added on. So all of those things are great to tell your provider.
When we were discussing together about my own insurance for my own condo that I ran here, you told me something that was really inspiring for me, and I would like to share it with our viewers, is that not all claims are worth to be asked yet. Britney was explaining me that if you choose to go for any big companies that have only 1-800 numbers that you can call, there is a good chance that if you do a claim, they will report it in your file. But if you call your local agents, they will check with you whether it's worth asking for the claim or not.
Yes.
Tell us more about what can happen if I ask for a claim. Let's say, I don't know, I've got a loss for I cannot rent my property for 2 weeks. Is it worth to ask for the claim? And if I do it, what is going to happen behind the scene?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because you have your insurance and we want you to be able to use it. Certainly, any claim, we want to have that conversation and get you taken care of and back to where you were before whatever unfortunate event happened. But I do try to let my clients know that there is a bigger picture that we should take into account. And you do have what's called a claims-free discount that you lose in the event of a claim that gets paid out. So sometimes that can be several $100s a year that you're receiving for that claims-free discount, and you generally, with most insurance companies, will lose that discount for 3 years. So I just like to kind of make everybody educated on what happens when that claim does get paid out. The other thing is it does go on a record. We have what's called loss history reports that all companies we do share that information. Sometimes if you have a claim on your record, other insurance companies will not even be able to take you on as a client for up to 3 years. So you just want to be aware. Now certainly, if you have a claim, we want you to call, we want to be able to cover you. But the other thing to look at is what is your deductible. So if you have $1,000 deductible and your loss, like you were mentioning, was $1,500, by the time you're losing your claims-free discount and it's going on your record, is that extra $500, is that the best plan for you to move forward? That's where we want to evaluate, and every claim situation is different.
Okay, so if I want to wrap up what we have seen this morning is that insurance is key, absolutely. Nobody should live without insurance. And doing short-term rentals, there are some specificities that you do need to check with your insurer to make sure that if something happens, you will be covered and you will be fully covered as you believe you are covered. But on the other side, insurance should be considered for big major topics. You are lower level lost. My recommendation as short-term rental specialist is take it as part of your business cost. Just an expenses that I will cover as repairs and maintenance, but don't believe that your insurance will cover that. Keep your insurance for major, huge topics, because if it happens to you, then you will be more than happy to find that.
Well said. I always say, nobody likes writing that check to the insurance company, myself included, but by writing that small check, you make sure that you're not going to have to come out, of pocket for a huge check.
So now I've got a question for you. Leave your comment below. What have we missed? Happy to come visit Britney Bladel at the State Farm Agency in Incline Village on the beautiful Lake Tahoe. If you have a property on the area, check with her what is your insurance and what she can do for you to make sure that you have everything as you need. Thank you very much, Britney. It was so nice to talk to you, and invest with confidence and have fun with your short-term rentals. See you next time. Bye-bye.